Hey, what's up, everybody? Steven here from Northwest Small Batch Brewing. A little one-off here. This is an extra video this week. Happy Hump Day, if you're watching this on the day I released it. So real quickly, I'm just doing a quick taste test. I figured I'd do this on camera. Why not? So Dennis over at CityScape Brewing, he made... Well, okay, he asked me if I could send him this beer, because they make it here. This is a Portland brewery, Wayfinder. And this cold IPA. And so I said, sure. And I sent him a bunch of beers, including, a few of these to sample, because he was making a clone of it. And he wanted to compare the two, his clone to the original. So he's did that. His video's out. I'll post a link in the description, and probably I'll put a card up in the top left. Well, it's reversed with YouTube, so my left, your right, I guess. Anyway, it'll be up there. And so he sent me his beer, and I have still a can of the original Wayfinder beer. So to start with, I've never had a cold IPA ever. So I'm not a huge IPA guy, so, I don't go out of my way for it. But I looked it up, because to me, a cold IPA should be a lager. So I feel like cold IPA is not appropriate name for these. I think it should be called an IPL, an India Pale Lager. I suppose the other weird thing is that, so I looked on Wayfinder's website, and it is a lager yeast. So it's not an IPA, right? Because it's not a pale ale, it's a pale lager. And also it looks like they fermented hot. They fermented warm with lager yeast. So nothing about it is cold, I guess. So the whole thing is weird. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. I'm going to pop the Wayfinder first here. And I'm anticipating, since this is a West Coast beer, Wayfinder is the founder, basically, of this. I'm anticipating it is going to be pretty bitter. Kind of like a West Coast IPA. Well, there is... By the way, I'm using Pilsner glasses because they're the same. Like, these are the only two glasses I have in the house that are, I can have the same style glass. Plenty of carbonation in that sucker. Nice head, too. I mean, it's holding along, so... it looks like a lager. Certainly does not look like an IPA. And these are fermented pretty dry, is what my understanding is. You can dry hop them, of course, because, as most IPAs are. Yeah. It's hang on. I've got the worst allergies right now. If you're watching this, the trees are blooming. I was going to wait, and blow my nose off camera, but I want to be able to smell this properly, Yeah, there's definitely, it smells like, the more piney sort of hops. Okay. I will say it's not my favorite beer. Not my least favorite, but it's not my favorite. I just find these West Coasty style IPAs to be just kind of bitter. Like, they're not, to me, it's not a super pleasant. It is nicer than the standard West Coast IPAs, and I think that's because it's lager yeast. It does taste crisper and cleaner. So, although it's not my favorite, as far as IPAs go, or at least the West Coasty style, it's not too bad. Now, this is Cityscape's version. You'll have to look at his video. I don't know what the ABV and all that is. Looks super clear in the bottle, though. It doesn't say on the label. So sounds undercarbed, possibly. Now, I'm assuming, I'm 99% sure that he just bottled this off of his keg. Because there's very little, if any, there's really no debris or whatever left, I'll put this here to remember which one's which. So I did see on his video that his version is a little cloudier. I don't know if you can see them side by side, but and there's some cold haze coming through. His is maybe a little darker in color. I'm just gonna... Yeah, well, paler. There's a little bit of not quite as clear. I mean, it is super clear. It looks like the carbonation is good. Head retention is good. Maybe a little thicker head on his beer than the original. Despite the sounding like there was a lack of carbonation, I can surely see plenty of carbonation. Let's see. Already, there's a huge difference in just the aroma. The original here, cold IPA, is very piney. You know, I'm sure they're using Northwest hops, and I don't know what hops that Dennis used, but I'm getting a lot of pineapple right off the bat from the nose on his. Pretty bitter. I'd say his is actually more bitter than the original. I'll take a few more sips here. The carbonation is a little lower than the original. I'd say, and this is not a negative. I mean, none of it's negative. This is a great beer. But this is why I bottle condition beers that I give to people, and even that can be a problem for sure, because it still can be overcarbonated or undercarbonated. But anytime I've had beer that was pulled off the keg and just, with a beer gun or something, it just always has, I don't know, loses some of the carbonation over time. And this probably, took a few weeks between bottling and mailing to me at least. So it's not bad. It's not super undercarbed or anything, but compared to this original, there is not an off flavor, but there is a flavor in his. It's kind of like when you have a weird cheese, like a Swiss cheese, how it has that just a flavor that you're like, oh, what is that? Yeah, his is definitely bitter. The finish from his is more bitter too. It lingers. The bitterness lingers, whereas I feel like the original Wayfinder one, it is not as bitter. And there's not like a bitter long finish on it. Yeah, see, there's a long bitter finish on this one. Yeah, this is definitely sweeter. I don't know if Dennis used corn or rice. I had read that Wayfinder used corn or rice as an adjunct in theirs, which would definitely give the appearance of being something a little bit sweeter, even if it's very dry. And it has like a nicer finish. There's not that bitter finish. I don't know what hops. I think that Dennis might have used different hops. Like, I'm guessing. I watched his video, but I don't remember, his recipe in comparison. And I don't know the recipe for Wayfinder, but just going on taste, it feels like the Wayfinder is using some sort of pioneer Northwest hop. And I would change the hops in this one. Like, if I was making another one and trying to make any improvements or changes, that would be my thing. I think clarity, it's good. Whatever yeast you use, Dennis, I think is great. It's nice and crisp and clean. It's a good beer. There's nothing wrong with it. My only recommendation is that I feel like the hops are lingering for a long time on the finish and leaving kind of a bitterness in your mouth. Well, I think that maybe, I don't know what hops you used, but maybe change the hops or not as many, or maybe you dry hopped. I'm not sure, but that's something to look at. I don't know the ABV of his either. This one, the Wayfinder, is quite high. And I said this was going to be a short video, and I guarantee you it's not at this point. All right. Well, I'm going to leave it at that. I know the Wayfinder is pretty high on ABV, like 7% or 8%. So anyway, I hope you found that interesting. Sorry it ran long. I promised a short video, and I knew it wasn't going to be. I'll be back in a few days with my normal recorded content. So I'll see you soon, and as always, keep on brewing.